You're listening to Marketing Tips with Meliss podcast.
Welcome to Marketing Tips with Meliss podcast. And now your host, Meliss-Ep.
Hey, everybody. Today we're talking about podcasts. And podcasting is a really great form of content that you can use for visibility and engagement and brand awareness. And it's just a great way to nurture your audience because they learn a lot from you. You get to teach, you get to showcase other people if that's your style. And it's a really wonderful way of sharing what you have to offer. But there are many different types of podcasts, and different ones might work better for your business or for even your schedule in your life. So that's what we're talking about today, the different types of podcasts. Stick around. All right, so as you know, I have a podcast. This podcast is episode 236, so I've clearly been doing this for a while. Back in the day when I had my own health and life coaching company, I also had a podcast for that. So I've been a podcaster for a very long time. And over the years, I have learned different techniques and styles and also seen this huge influx of new podcasters and different podcasts and different podcast styles. So I know a lot of you guys have been in business for a while, or maybe you're just starting out and you are looking for ways to get out there and get your product and service visible out into the market. And podcasting is a great way to do that. It is a form of content, just like blogs or videos on YouTube or going live on your Facebook page. And it's another form of content, just like actual posting of pictures and captions and things of that nature. However, running a podcast is a lot of work. It's a lot of time when it comes to editing and posting and scheduling. And if you have different types of podcast styles, there are different types of things that go along with that, plus all the technology. So if you're doing it on your own, more power to you. I did it on my own for a very short time before I realized I do not want to do this on my own. I have too many other things that I need to take care of in my business. So if you are thinking about starting a podcast, make sure you have the time to create the content and you have money to invest in someone to help you, because that is how it's going to help you stay consistent and keep up with everything and not feel overwhelmed, unless podcasting is going to be your main jam and you're going to start a podcast and learn all the ins and outs of podcasting and then create a business around doing that for other people. Other than that, I highly suggest you get some help. So let's talk about the different types or different styles of podcasting. This podcast, Marketing Tips with Meliss, the style is a solo style. So what that means is here I am, you get to hear just from me, and it's my podcast. That's a solo style podcast. The benefits to this type of podcast are that I get to record this podcast whenever I want to. I could be recording at 4 a.m. I could record at 3 p.m. I can batch recordings and do them all in one sitting on a Sunday, which is very often what I do. So I get to control how I record them, the timing, how long they are, what I'm talking about, and it's very easy for me. Also, when it comes to making the image, I don't have to get any images from anybody else. I just have the image for myself, and I create a YouTube cover art or the art for the podcast itself or for the audiogram, and that is easy because it's solo, done deal. But the other style of podcast that you might be familiar with is the interview style. The interview style podcast is generally longer, and you have at least two people on the podcast where one person is the host and one person is being interviewed. Of course, you can have more than one guest being interviewed and you can have more than one host. But at a minimum, there are two people there and it's an interview style. One person, the host, is coming every single week talking about their business and then interviewing somebody else in their business. And there's a back and forth and there's a conversation, and that's great too. The cool thing about this type of podcast is that you really don't need to come with a lot of content. You just need to book out your speakers in advance. So you yourself are not going to be the one that has to come up with content topics, but you do have to find other people, which means that when it comes time to recording your podcast, you're going to have to find time that fits both of your schedules. You're also going to have more technology pieces to fit in. You know, in my solo podcast, it's me and my microphone. In an interview style podcast, it would be me and my microphone plus my guest plus whatever microphone my guest is using or their computer. And there's a lot more moving pieces with the technology piece, especially if you're doing a video element. So if you're on Zoom and you're recording on video, now you have to make sure you're dressed fancy and they're dressed fancy. You have to make sure that the Zoom is actually recording you side by side, which I've had a problem with before in the past. Or if you're doing it on YouTube, is it live? And there's a lot of moving pieces. Is their sound quality good? Is their webcam good? So there's a lot more there, more responsibility. Plus, if they don't show up, it messes up your schedule. You also have to share links with each other, and you have to have them help promote your podcast because it's their big feature. So there's a whole lot more involved. You need their bio, you need their headshot, you need a link to their freebie. You've got to have all that in advance, and there's a lot of moving pieces. However, it lasts longer. Sometimes they're between 45 minutes and an hour. You could batch this type of content where maybe you're scheduling 2 or 3 in a day and you're getting that done. But those are the pros and cons of solo and interview style. The third style of podcasts that I've seen are called seasons. So these are seasonal podcasts. And what I mean by that is you might see someone run a podcast every single week for 8 weeks, and then they're no longer running a podcast. And you're like, oh, did it close? What's happening? Are they not doing it anymore? And then in 12 weeks later, maybe they're back up and running for another 8 weeks. This is like seasons in your favorite sitcom, season 1, season 2. And I really love this feature, and I recommend this to my clients who feel like they would do great in podcasting, but not in the consistency component of it that is required. So they go full on strong for 8 weeks, and then they take a break and they can focus on some other things. Or maybe season 1 is 12 weeks long or whatever. But this is a great way to have this best of both worlds where you are running a consistent podcast, you are speaking to a target market, you are getting content out there and you're being visible and you have brand awareness, but you can take a break so you don't have to always think of topics or you don't have to always book guests. And then you come back when you're ready. So it's a great way to get your feet wet. Maybe if you start off this way to see if anyone's even going to pay attention to your podcast before you decide to go full on in with podcasting, that's your choice. But this is just a great way to have seasons of growth, seasons of different types of content pieces coming through. Now, the fourth type of podcast is called a pop-up podcast. And I recently saw this a couple months ago and I loved the idea. A pop-up podcast is where you have a podcast with only a few episodes, and it's only going to be available for a certain amount of days. So it's kind of like running a Facebook challenge group. You might have a 5-day challenge group, then you have an open cart series. You're getting people in that way, and you would do the same with a pop-up podcast, also sometimes known as a secret podcast. So this would be a podcast that loads, maybe a new episode comes out every day for 3 to 5 days, and it's like a challenge, but instead of being in front of your computer with a video component, you can listen to this at any time. There still will be an open cart at the end. There still will be some sort of call to action to get people in the door, but it is a pop-up podcast. It pops up and it comes down. It's time to fill your programs. When I say fill your programs, I mean make more sales, get more leads, and have consistent income. In my upcoming free 5-day challenge called Thanks for the Clients Challenge Group, my team and I are going to show you how to fill your programs, make more sales, and get you in front of your tribe. And I'm not charging you a penny for it. We meet daily at 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Central, 10 a.m. Pacific, and 5 p.m. GMT from November 9th to November 13th. Everything we are showing you is to help you scale your business and finish strong this year. Register now at thanksfortheclients.com. So those are the 4 different types of podcasts that I wanted to explain to you today. But what I really want you to take away from this is that you need to have a call to action in your podcasts. So the podcast is a great way to do that because there's an intro, there's an outro, there's commercials. If you're talking to somebody and you're interviewing someone, you have their opportunity to give a call to action, maybe to their freebie or to join their group. So it is a great way to reach a lot of people and have them become interested in what you offer. Podcasting itself is not necessarily a money generating activity. It can be if you have other people coming in to do the commercials and you have sponsors and things like that. Of course, you can make money in that way. But for a personal branded service-based online business, a lot of times the podcast's purpose is for brand awareness and visibility. And it's just like sending a weekly newsletter or writing a blog. It is just a type of content to get out in front of people. And of course, you can mention your offers and things like that as you grow and as it becomes necessary and it makes sense and it's relevant. But it is a great way to reach your audience and have a call to action. Like I could tell you now to join my free Facebook community at magneticmarketingmastermind.com. And now I've given that a plug, and you can plug other things throughout the podcast. So it is a great way to reach your audience. And then also really quick is the Videocast. In case you've heard this word before, it is a podcast technically, I guess, but it comes from a video. So it's really just doing like a video series that is done consistently, whether it's on Facebook Live or on YouTube, but you are casting a video as though you would be casting a podcast. And sometimes what this looks like, especially in the interview style podcast, is you've taken the interview and you've downloaded the audio and you've uploaded that to a podcast. So if you have a video feature, you can also turn it into an audio feature. So Videocast is not really its own type of podcast, but in case you've heard that term before, I wanted to clarify that and let you know. So podcasting, I'm interested to know if this is something that you have on your plate already, you're already a podcaster, or if it's something that you're considering doing and you just don't know, is this the right time? I'll tell you, it is a lot of work, it is a lot of fun, and it is a great way to teach and offer wonderful value. This is episode 236, so I have given at least 236 marketing nuggets to my audience, and it will continue to grow because I love this work and I love doing podcasts. So if you think that it's easy to speak and do audio form of content, this might be what you need to focus on. Of course, if you're better at video, focus on lives. If you're better at writing, focus on your blogs. I just challenge you to focus on something for your brand awareness and visibility, to get your name out there, to find the audience that is going to eat up everything that you have, and they just can't wait for more and more and more stuff from you. And podcasting is one way to do that. I hope this helps, and I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for listening to the Marketing Tips with Meliss podcast at www.marketingtipswithmeliss.com.
Hey, coaches and healers, it's time to feel supported in your business. Head on over to our free community to get access to my best resources for free. I'm talking marketing tips, business strategy, feedback, and so much more. Join now at magneticmarketingmastermind.com. See you there.